Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I would like to share a book haul. I would like for you to enjoy seeing all of the books that I have been gifted or purchased over, the last fortnight, really. And I am just going to get straight into them with a book that I discovered last year and asked for it for Christmas in August because I had hopes that I would have read all of this author's works and this would be the perfect way to round things off. So the first book here is The Other Elizabeth Taylor by Nicola Beauman. This is the biography of Elizabeth Taylor. This is the author whose novels I spent the entirety of last year reading and whose short story collection I am currently exploring. I'm really interested to read about this writer's life and whether we're going to get some insight into who she was as a person that might have influenced her writing in some way. And I've never been like this before. I've always been avoidant of biographies. Somebody bought me the Victoria Wood biography a few years ago because I'm such a huge fan of hers. But when it comes to memoir or biography, I tend to go towards the unknowns who might have an interesting story from their life. I'm very much looking forward to this one, but I told myself I can't read it until I've read all the short stories. Next was a gift from my manager, and I'm not quite sure what she's trying to say or why she gave it to me, but it's Surely It Can't Just Be Me, which is unpublished letters to the Daily Telegraph by Kate Moore. I don't read the Telegraph. I am not its audience. I'm not its target market, but I think maybe my manager got these for me because they're supposed to be humorous. And the next two came from my friend Joy. We regularly exchange books at Christmas. This time around, she got me Going to Meet the Man by James Baldwin, which is 8 extraordinary stories of love, conflict, desperation and fear, showing people trapped by the roles they must play in society and those who try and escape them. A few years ago, I read a novel of James Baldwin's and I wasn't necessarily a fan, but I wouldn't mind exploring his short fiction. The reason that I think I've been gifted this short story collection and the next one that Joy gave me is because I regularly talk about when I'm writing how oftentimes I will try and head towards a short story collection because it's one story you can read and then you can move on and do whatever you wanted with the day as opposed to trying to read a novel. And the next book that she got me is Antarctica by Clare Keegan. And apparently these are beautifully crafted stories, adult versions of fairy tales with echoes of Raymond Carver and William Trevor. I don't like either of those short story writers, but what does the blurb actually say? A secret one night tryst in the city, a sister's revenge, a Christmas and a New Year's Eve dance, and a missing girl. We will see how I get on with this. I didn't particularly care for small things like these, but I know that my friend Charlie is a fan of Clare Keegan's prose. Well, her novels at least, her novellas. I don't know whether she got on with her short stories. And speaking of my friend Charlie of Charlie Brook Reads got me a copy of the Whisperwicks Labyrinth of the Lost and Found by Jordan Lees, which was one of my favourite books of last year. This is also the book I said was the best middle grade fiction I had read in the longest time. Unfortunately, this copy got damaged by the Royal Mail, so Charlie and I are currently cursing the Royal Mail because she went out of her way to find me a perfect pristine edition, and in getting to me, they tore open the envelope that had bubble wrap in it and tossed the book around, and it was incredibly damaged, which is unfortunate. And now we move on to the books that I got in a sale, and weirdly didn't have to pay for any of these because a year ago my family gifted me vouchers for Christmas and there was nothing that I wanted to buy last year. I was having a year where I didn't buy any new books and just read the books on my shelves, so I actually looked out with this one. We will start with the book that I have already read, The Party by Tessa Hadley. I discovered this book on the Waterstones website and thought that it was fortuitous because I had recently said how I wished to read Tessa Hadley again. I read her collection Married Love in 2014 and always meant to go back and read her novels, but I haven't done that yet. So getting this novella felt very lucky. It's quite a fast read. I read it in an hour yesterday. It's only 115 pages and it follows two sisters who decide that they're going to go to the pub, and while there they meet a couple of young lads and it just follows them over a few days. And really what I liked about this was the look at Britain post-war and these young people, and it just felt like a really well put together novella, very timely. The setting was great, the characters were great. It was a brilliant evocation of the time, is what I will say when it comes to the party, and I'm really looking forward to returning to this in future. Then we have Gliff by Ellie Smith, and I admit I was not going to get this book. However, it was on the sale, and so I came to YouTube and I watched reviews from Eric Carl Anderson and Ros of Scallydandling about the books. From listening to them talk about it, I decided that I would get it and make my own opinions about this one. I have heard that there are 2 children in this book, there's something about a horse, and there is a lot to do with language in this one as well. And that's something that I've always liked about Ellie Smith, is the way she does play with language. However, with the last book, I felt like she was battering me over the head with the points that she was trying to make. So hopefully I don't feel the same way when it comes to this one. Next we have Song of the Huntress by Lucy Holland. This mentioned the Wild Hunt, which is an aspect of Celtic mythology of which I've always been interested. I am a big fan of Celtic mythology. Indeed, when I was writing my own fantasy fiction back in the day, I would always look at Celtic mythology, the gods and the belief systems of a whole host of people. When it comes to Celtic mythology, it's very rich, there's a lot there, but there's also a lot that's been lost. So it's one that covers a great number of people, and apparently this is a fantasy inspired by Celtic mythology, specifically the Wild Hunt that is mentioned at the back. Also, I've heard does a bit of a gender flip situation, and I was here for it basically. I've not read Lucy Holland before. I've seen their works around, and I'm looking forward to exploring this one. Then we have Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout, which is the only book that I was hoping would actually be in the Waterstone sale, because I was always going to buy it. I was actually going to buy this for myself before Christmas, but I was told to hold off by people and in case they were going to get it for me. Well, none of them got it for me, so they could have just let me buy it and read it by now. But anyway, this is a sequel to The Burgess Boys, which I DNF'd last year. It also features Lucy Barton, and I believe that there is mention of Olive Kitteridge in here. I know that a friend of mine says that she never gets emotional at books. She can read anything and it not affect her, and this book affected her, and she also read it rather slowly, wishing to eke it out so that she could spend more time with the characters. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. I have no idea what it's about. I just know it's Elizabeth Strout, and Elizabeth Strout is currently an author whose works I will just buy as soon as I see them if I haven't read them yet. And then we have a book that I have purchased on the recommendation of my friend Charlie of Charlie Brook Reads, and that is James by Percival Everett. A few years ago, for my birthday, Charlie gifted me The Trees, and we both read that novel incredibly quickly. It was a bit dystopic, if I remember correctly, but I didn't really have any wish to return to their works again. But then I heard Charlie talk about James, and I heard more people talking about this book over last year, which is, I believe, a reimagining of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of James. I decided when I saw it was there that I was going to get it, I was going to read it. And since this book came so highly recommended, I thought that I would get it, I would read it, but hopefully I will be experiencing an exceptional novel. And finally, I wasn't going to buy this because most of the books I have by this author are in paperback, but I could deny myself no longer. It is Death at the Sign of the Rook by Kate Atkinson. In 2023, I read all of Kate Atkinson's novels, so naturally she had to announce another book was coming out the following year. This is another Jackson Brodie novel, another murder mystery, and I'm here for it. I'm hoping that I really enjoy it. I'm hoping that it cements Kate Atkinson as a favourite writer of mine, despite the fact that she's already done that. I'm looking forward to the humour. I'm looking forward to her poking fun at the crime genre. I'm looking forward to meeting these characters again, because it just feels like returning to a friend, really. I am looking forward to this one, as I'm looking forward to all of the books that I have not read from this stack. And then to the books. If you would recommend that I prioritise any of these books over others, then please feel free to let me know which one. Have you acquired any books recently? What books do you think that I ought to look out for this year? Please feel free to let me know in the comments. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.